Welcome to The Artistic Spot, a podcast about art, talent, and entrepreneurship, where you are also the artist. And now, your host, Jose Rodriguez Marmol.
And this is how we welcome you to Artistic Spot, a whole new podcast about art, talent, and entrepreneurship, where you are also the artist. In Artistic Spot, you're actors and actresses of your own movies, singers of your own musicals, and writers of your own books. Speaking about actors and writers, today we have a very special guest. He's joining us live from Los Angeles, California, through Skype. Mauricio Amoretti will be joining us to talk about his acting, writing, and directing career and the pathway to the entertainment business in Hollywood. And this is how we welcome Mauricio Amoretti. How are you, Mauricio? I'm going to give you an applause before we start. There you go. That's because you accepted our invitation to Artistic Spot. We're very honored to have you on our show and for you to share your story. Thank you for joining us, Mauricio.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for inviting me. I'm so honored, and it's a pleasure for me to be part of your program.
It is our pleasure to have you. Once again, thank you. We appreciate your time. We know you're very busy, and you have done a lot of things in LA. But before we go to talk about that, I would like you to start telling us a little bit about who Mauricio Amoretti is.
Wow. Well, I always say I'm an actor because that's what I've been doing the most of my life since I was in college and before a little bit in high school. But I guess like every aspect of the arts I've been interested in. First it was painting, and then like music. I joined like an orchestra. I played the violin. Then it was dance. So I've been a little bit around all of them. So I guess, I mean, it's always hard to say like I'm an artist, you know, because there's so many preconceptions of what an artist is. But I guess, you know, I don't really like sports or science, so I guess I am an artist, and everything I do is related to art. It doesn't mean it's good art, but I do my best, you know. So yeah.
You said something really interesting about there's a lot of preconceptions about what art is and about what's being an artist. Can you talk to us a little bit about those preconceptions and how we can perceive someone who is involved in the entertainment world and has been out there being an artist and making his wildest dreams come true? Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Of course. Well, the first thing I have to say about that is that art is not really related to success these days, because success today is measured in ways that I do not consider the best ways, you know, like, you know, selling your art or having a lot of followers or, you know, earning a lot of money. It doesn't mean, I mean, it means that you're successful, but it doesn't mean that you're a good artist. And many artists do not make any money with their art, because art is just not something that the society considers very useful. And in order to make it useful, we need to compromise certain aspects. So I guess the more honest your art is, the more successful you are. The more it gets closer with the idea that you want to say, the more honest your art is. I consider that a better piece of art. So that's how I measure someone's success, someone's success. That's what I wanted to say.
So Mauricio, can you tell us about who Mauricio was before coming to the United States, before deciding to pack in a suitcase all his dreams and come to Los Angeles, California? What did you do back home? You're from Venezuela, right? So what you were used to doing when you were back in your home country?
Well, the first thing you realize when you go out of your country is that we're really there. You know, like I went to college, to Universidad Central de Venezuela, to one of the top universities in Venezuela, and I didn't pay a dime. I never had to pay for any of my schooling or education. I did ballet, yoga, music. I belong to the music system, and all of that I did for free. So really, Venezuela was a very rich country, so we had so much, and I realized that when I don't have it anymore, because I want to keep exploring. I want to take classes and different things that make me passionate, but it's just a lot of money,
Yes.
So first of all, I gotta say that I was lucky enough to have a family and a society that allowed me to explore making theater, and exploring all the different arts that there were. So first of all, I came with that baggage,
Yes.
I do consider myself a very prepared person because I invested a lot of time taking classes when I was back home. So that is one first thing I have under my arm when I come to LA, but I realized how difficult things are in here. All the money that you have to produce in order to live here and have pay for rent and all the things that you must do when you're a citizen of other country.
Yes, and before you were mentioning that you went to the Universidad Central de Venezuela in Caracas.
Yes.
And you did theater and all of that. So what made you be in the actor, writer, and directing positions now here in Los Angeles? You're mentioning something really important because we have a lot of people that they follow us through social media, RJJ Design on Instagram, JJ Art and Design on Facebook, and they're dreamers. It doesn't matter if they live here in the United States, it doesn't matter where they're from, they're only dreamers. And sometimes they consider that going to Los Angeles, it's a big dream. And some people might resonate with your idea and with all the information you're giving us. How does Mauricio handles all those changes, and how long have you been in Los Angeles before we move forward and we start telling our audience what Mauricio is doing nowadays?
Okay, well, I came to LA 6 years ago. 6 years ago, I decided to come here because I was working in RCTV, a network in Venezuela that was shut by the government. So I was out of work, and it was just the right time because I always wanted to come to Los Angeles, to Hollywood specifically. It was a dream that I had, and I didn't have anything in Venezuela. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a relationship, or so I made the jump. I didn't know anyone in LA. I didn't know anything about the city. So it took a lot of courage, I think. So the first thing to go after your dreams is just, jump in it and go for it. It requires a lot of courage to do so, but you just have to do it, because if not, life goes by and you didn't do it.
Yes, that's absolutely right. You mentioned you were part of RCTV, which was that TV network, one of the most important TV networks in Venezuela, that was shut down by the government quite a few years ago. Can you tell us a little bit more about your experience working for RCTV? And what do you remember the most about working in that TV network?
Well, I was part of the cast of two telenovelas there. Mi Prima Ciela and Calle Luna, Calle Sol. So those two, I was studying in the university, and one of my teachers was like, "Hey, they're looking for people like you with your hair." I had hair by then for a specific character, Chicharrón. It's called like curly or something. And I went, did my audition, and I got in. And for 2 years, I was part of a regular cast of their soap operas, and one of the things I remember the most was how much I learned from it, because I got to do what I love, which is acting, every day in a different way and earn money from it, and see the evolution of a character throughout a few months, and doing that every day was great. Also, both of the telenovelas that I shot were with Monica Spear. She was the lead actor in both of them. So I got to work with her and meet her as a person. And I think that was one of the most beautiful gifts that LSTV gave me.
So you used to work with Monica Spear, who unfortunately passed away back home in Venezuela a few years ago. But she was Miss Venezuela 2004. Can you tell us about your experience working with Monica Spear? And this too, I think these two are one of the Mi Prima Ciela was one of the most important soap operas from RCTV before they shut down the TV network. And it had international acclaiming, and I think it was showcased not only in Venezuela but in a lot of countries around the world. So it had a lot of significance. The story, because it was based on it was a new version of another soap opera based on the same story, but the way they did it was completely different. So can you tell us a little bit more about your experience working with Monica Spear, which became a very talented actress, and she was a leading actress from Telemundo, one of the most important Hispanic networks in the United States?
Yes. Well, the reason these soap opera was so important was because it was actually airing when the government shut down the TV network.
Yes.
So it was the main soap opera during that time, and I guess people were not going to be able to watch the end of the soap opera if that was happening, the shutting down of the network, which it did. So working with Monica was so great because she was not just beautiful and an incredible professional. I learned a lot from her. She was so committed, so focused all the time. But also she was such a good person, though. Like, she was always friendly with everyone in the cast and every one of the members of the crew. She was always happy, always smiling, no matter how busy she was. And that led me to think that, you have to be grateful for every opportunity that you have in a workplace. And you have to be grateful for everyone that is surrounding you, from the girl or boy, whoever brings you coffee, to the director. Like, there's no important position or less important than other. Everyone's doing their job, and if you're working as an actor, everything surrounds you, and there's just like being grateful for it. I learned that from her.
You mentioned something really important, which is being grateful and being
Yes.
humble. How do you handle that living in Los Angeles, which is a very, very difficult market for everybody involved in the entertainment business? How do you remain humble and grateful when you have maybe a world full of no's out there for you?
Well, thank God I have a lot of friends now that mostly are Venezuelan actors that have come here. So with the years, we have built like a safe network or like a group that it's also a support group. I looking back throughout my life and all the failures, to call it somehow, like all the bad experiences that you have had professionally, there was always someone to be with you that you could cry in their shoulder. And I think that's very important, because life is, sometimes you make it and sometimes you don't. So to have someone to share those moments is very important. To also have something other than your job in your daily basis, to do things recreational things, to explore your hobbies and go out and have fun. It has to be a healthy balance between working and also getting inspiration and stuff. So the bumps don't hurt so much.
So Mauricio, what have you been doing since you came here 6 years ago? We know that you have an acting background from RCTV, and then you came here. What have Mauricio been doing since he arrived to Los Angeles, California?
Mostly, I've done a lot of TV commercials for